Can you do the tokoloshi? Yes. In South Africa, people raise their beds on bricks to keep an evil creature from climbing up and biting their toes off at night. That creature is called the tokoloshi. And guys, if I'm pronouncing it wrong, correct me in the comments. The tokoloshi is a short, hairy, goblin-like humanoid creature from South African mythology, especially Zulu folklore. It's an evil spirit said to be summoned by witch doctors or shamans to cause trouble for others. At its mildest, the tokoloshi is used to scare children. But at its worst, it can bring sickness or even death to its victims. Some stories describe it doing things too disturbing to say out loud. It's known for tormenting people in their sleep, causing nightmares, pulling at blankets, biting on toes, or sitting on their chests until they wake up gasping for air. When someone dies suddenly in their sleep, many blame the tokoloshi. The tokoloshi is almost impossible to escape. By swallowing a stone or drinking water, it can turn invisible, haunting victims without ever being seen. People literally blame this creature for everything, from murder and possession to divorce and debt. People protect themselves by raising their beds off the ground. But once a tokoloshi is set upon you, only a traditional healer has the power to banish it. So how is one created? According to legend, a tokoloshi is born when a witch doctor takes a freshly dead body and performs a dark ritual, shrinking it to the size of a child with a hot poker and spiritual powders before bringing it back to life. Today, some call it a myth, but for many Zulu people, the fear of the tokoloshi is still very real. If you guys have any personal stories about the tokoloshi, send them to me. I would love to read them.
Hi, new friend.
Hi.
What are you doing?
Nothing.
Nothing. It's impossible to do nothing, silly.
Oh, I guess I'm sitting on my bed. I was eating dinner with my dad, but he was being so annoying.
Oh, that sucks. My dad is literally the most annoying person in the world.
No, mine is.
They're like first and second place most annoying dads.
Like they go to competitions probably. Like they study each other's moves on video in slow motion, analyzing how to be the most annoying.
You're really funny.
Oh my god. No, so random. I like your screen name, BFF Forever.
Oh.
What's your real name?
Real names suck. Hey, I have an idea. You want to give each other nicknames?
Like what?
Like, I'll call you Shelly Belly. And you can just call me Bestie. It'll be like a secret just between us.
Okay. Bestie?
Shelly Belly. Who's that little guy?
Oh, nothing. Just this dumb thing from when I was a kid. I don't even know why it's here.
Well, he's so cute. What's his name?
Pink Bear? He used to be pink. Now he's more like a gray. I think he might be a mouse, actually.
Well, I love him. Whatever he is. Cool poster. I love Pippin.
Wait, you know Pippin?
Of course.
Oh my god, I'm literally obsessed with that soundtrack.
No, Amy, too.
Like, we did it last summer at camp.
Stop. I'm literally dying right now.
And I played Catherine. But I can actually sing and even play it better.
I'm about to show you one of the most terrifying photographs you've ever seen. So if you're easily frightened, do not watch this. A friend of mine lives in Chicago, and she and her husband thought that they had a family of raccoons living in their attic because they kept hearing all of these sounds upstairs above their bedroom. So they continued calling their landlord, kept reporting it, kept saying, hey, we've got an infestation of rodents or raccoons or something in our attic, and you guys need to come and get it taken care of. The landlord kept putting them off and kept saying, you know, we're really busy. We can't get there. So the sounds would come and go. Sometimes it would be quiet up there. Sometimes it would be really loud. One day my friend is home alone. Her husband's out of town. And the sounds are particularly bad. Worse than they've ever been before. And she's sitting there and she's like, what is going on? Like, what could like there must be a million raccoons up in my attic. And so she decides to pull the access stairs down from the ceiling, and She's too frightened to go all the way up into the attic because the light that's up there is a cord light and it's a little ways. So she doesn't want to go into the attic, thinking it might be unsafe. So she just crawls up 4 or 5 stairs and just sticks her arm up into the attic and just snaps a photograph. She pulls her phone down to see what's actually living there. Warning. This is what is on her phone screen, staring back at her. He was 7 feet away from her when she took this picture. And mind you, she was home alone. So, yeah. She called the police. She reported it. The police came. They found him. They also found a bunch of, you can't really see it, but right here, there's like a pile of her husband's clothes. He had been going into their house while they were out and taking things, personal effects, articles of clothing, toiletry items. So he had been there for a while. I'd pass away.
You, yes you, I'm talking to you. You got 5 seconds to name the most beautiful woman celebrity you know. Alright, go ahead, I'm counting. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Alright, finish? You got it in your head? Well, let me tell you. Alright, finish? Well, let me tell you that the woman you named is nothing compared to the woman I got right behind me in this picture. Meet Aisha Kandisha. We're just calling her Kandisha, okay? So, hey, but bro, what the fuck is that? It's not a woman? Yeah, I can see that. She's a creature from Morocco. She is one of the most interesting and scariest ones. Trust me. So yeah, we were talking about Morocco. Because everybody in Morocco know about the things she and the way she does it. If you remember well, I was talking about women. But why? Well, because Kandisha is a woman. Well, kind of. Okay, but why everybody is scared of her? I don't get it. Oh, because she can go from her original form to the most beautiful woman you ever see. Imagine with me a scenario that could happen. You're walking in the street, you saw a beautiful woman, you're just like, wow. So normally you want to talk to that girl, but the moment you approach, she... Hey yo, for real, that's your story? You can punch the hell out of her before even she moves. What you talking about? Now let me precise 2 things. When she drags you, it will be in the woods, in the middle of nowhere, and mostly at night. Second, she is known for not having normal legs. Of the stories, she got goat legs. That means she's so fast. So now we know that she's so fast, she brings you in the dark, and it's her territory, the woods. The 3 things make it almost impossible to escape. That's what made her so popular in Morocco, and basically everybody was scared of her. What if you're not scared of her? What will happen then? Especially that everybody knew what was her weak point. It makes sense, think of it. When you're so problematic to someone, well, he'll find ways to bring you down. Oh, people in Morocco, since she was so popular, knew that she has a weakness, and her only weakness is fire. Coming back to my question, what if somebody is not scared of her, plus he's holding fire? Her only weakness. Let me tell you that this has actually happened, and it's one of my favorite stories about her. Before that, you know what to do. Save this video, come back to it at night so it's more enjoyable like that. Right, here's the story. Listen close. So Kandisha was in the wood. Quick reminder, she lives there. Suddenly, from very far, she sees a weird light. No, Kandisha, she's very smart. She transformed to a beautiful woman just in case somebody was looking for her. So she keeps walking towards the light. Bad news, the weird light was actually fire. But wait, there's a guy around here. Yes, and he's surrounded by fire. She's so confused, like what the fuck a guy with fire is doing in her area? And I agree with her. Remember I told you, she's very intelligent. So, just in case, she keep her distance. So the guy saw her and immediately asked her, yo, you're Kandisha, right? She's so confused. She's like, hey, yo, what the fuck? He's coming to my area and asking me if I'm Kandisha. Is he crazy? So she tries to play smooth. He goes like, who the fuck is Kandisha? Guy, he know what he's doing. So he goes like, come on, man, stop the cap. I know that you are Kandisha. So menacing for her, she has no clue what to do. She goes like, this motherfucker's pissing me off. He comes to my area and put a pressure on me. He thinks he playing on reverse, that's it. Well, I'ma show him. So she goes like, what if I'm Kandisha? What you gonna do about it? This man is so brave. He goes like, actually, I have fire on me, so what you gonna do? Oh my god. Then he said, you know what? I'm not here to kill you, actually. So she's like, what? Actually, I'm here to find the truth. Actually, I don't believe in that bullshit they talking about, so do you really kill people? This is a very sensitive moment. Listen closely. She goes like, she responds, even if you knew the truth will actually change nothing. He insists because he knows that he's controlling the situation. So he goes like, man, if you told me, I'm not leaving. It's your choice after all. He goes like, oh my god, that motherfucker won't let me have peace unless I tell him. She responds, you know what? I'm telling the truth. He's like, okay, go ahead. Her story has so many details and historical facts that you need to focus to understand, okay? If you remember well, I was talking about Morocco. Well, it was for a reason. It's because Morocco and plenty of other countries were united. So they were so strong. They were so strong that they decided in year 711 to conquer both Spain and Portugal. Guess what? They succeeded. They called it Al-Andalus. Kandisha's family were living in this area. Quick history lesson. This was a religious war between Morocco, who was Muslim, and Portugal. I'm sorry, right here. Portugal and Spain were Christian. So the rest of Portugal and Spain was just this area, right? They knew if the things continue like that, they might be killed. Being Christians, they asked help from another Christian country who is from Al-Andalus area, who were living their best life. So the Christians was like, hey, what are we doing? We need to get the land back. Guess what? After so many years of war, they succeeded. Those weren't good news for Kandisha's family, and that is why. So Christians got the land back. Muslims weren't getting the best treatment. Problem is, Kandisha's father, but he wasn't Muslim, so he only had two choices. Actually, three if you think about it. First option is you gonna stay as a Muslim, but you gonna leave Spain and come back to Morocco. The second option is you become a Christian and live in Spain. Third option, who is more of an obligation, you either choose between these two options. But the problem is, Kandisha's father didn't agree with any of those two options. He wanted to stay as a Muslim and stay in Spain, which was not possible. So they decided to take him, his wife, and Kandisha's sister, and they burned them in front of everybody. Remember Kandisha's weakness was fire? She is scared of fire because she has a child trauma when she seen her family burn. Remember the guy, the one who was listening to the story? He goes like, oh, okay, that makes sense. Say, hold on, I'm not finished. He somehow survived and came back to Morocco. She tells him, and yes, I kill people, but not all of them. The guy was like, oh yeah, what you mean? She responds by a very shocking information. She said, you know what? I only killed Portuguese soldiers during the war. He goes like, why do you keep Portuguese soldiers? Historical fact, Morocco and Portugal once had a problem. They had a conflict. So Portugal soldiers were in the Moroccan territory, and she used to in the wood by transforming into a beautiful wood. So he goes like, okay, that's where the come from. Yeah, exactly. Guy is pretty much shocked by what he heard. So he goes like, she only cared to protect her country, and I gotta trust her. He goes like, you know what? I trust you, and I'm sorry for having fire in front of you. He was like, let me just turn off the fire. He did turn off the fire. Oh, I forgot to ask you, where the goat legs come from? Unfortunately, you never get the answer. Why? She him. That's crazy, but it leads us to two possibilities. The first, she didn't want her secret to be told to everybody. The second possibility, she invented the whole story just so he can trust her and turn the fire off so she can... What do you think?
So check this crazy ass loophole I just went through. I nutted in the condom. Put water in the condom. Okay? Then, you want to take it a step further? Put the condom over a light. At that point, you're going to see a homemade lava lamp. Not capping though.
Don't watch this video at night when you're trying to go to bed, especially if you sleep alone. You've been warned. The story that was sent to me by somebody who wishes to remain anonymous has got to be the creepiest thing I've ever heard in my life. I don't know if y'all are ready for this one. I know I wasn't. If you made it this far, you probably love scary stuff as much as I do. Just remember, you asked for this. You stayed. Let's get into it. For the sake of the story, we will call this person Becky. So Becky's lived in her house for 2 years on September 1st. She's heard noises a few times during those years, but she's never experienced anything that really scared her to her core until recently. Earlier this year, her father was diagnosed with stage 3 lung cancer. Her and her dad were extremely close, and sadly, he lost his battle on June 30th. A few months prior to his passing, he was placed on hospice. However, he was still alert and oriented. One day, Becky, her fiance, and her son were all driving to dinner when her son said, "Mom, I need to tell you something." Becky was like, "Okay, what's up?" Becky's fiance looks at her and says, "Just listen to him. He already told me this morning." Her son proceeds to tell her, "Mom, I saw Papa." Becky was like, "Yeah, son, we go see Papa every day." He said, "No, Mom, I saw Papa in our house. I saw him 3 times. One time he was standing in my doorway just looking at me. And the second time he was running by my door and went into your room. And then the third time I only saw his face and he was just peeking in the doorway at me." He then told his mom he wasn't sick Papa, he was normal Papa. He went on to tell Becky what her dad was wearing, and he described exactly what her dad's work uniform was. Becky immediately started hysterically crying, and she was like, oh my god, I have to call my dad. She told her dad and everything was fine. He felt fine, nothing was wrong. He was more worried about her. Fast forward to now last week, Becky was laying on the couch talking to one of her best friends. It was the middle of the night because she's a night shift worker and her friend goes into work in the middle of the night. She hangs up the phone with her best friend and it was around 3:30 in the morning. A few minutes go by and she sees this dark figure that's like 6-7 foot tall that looks like it's wearing some kind of cloak of some type go from her son's room down the hallway to her room. She was frozen in fear and texted her best friend what she saw. That evening, before going into work again, she decided to tell her fiancé what she had seen. He was hesitant to do so because he doesn't really believe in a lot of things. Nonetheless, she tells him and he just stared at her. She's like, I know you don't believe me. He said, no, Becky, on Wednesday night while you were sleeping, I saw it twice. He said it was just standing on your side of the bed and just staring at me. He saw it once at 1:30 in the morning and then he went back to sleep and saw it again when he got up to get ready for work at like 4:30 in the morning. And he said that time he blinked and it was gone. He said he didn't tell her because he didn't want to scare her, but also he just didn't think she'd believe him. Towards the end of summer, he got up in the middle of the night one night and Becky felt him get up and then get back into bed, but she felt somebody standing behind her, staring at her. She said she was too scared to roll over and look. She could feel it staring at her. Fast forward to this past weekend, her son comes to her again and says, Mom, I need to tell you something. He proceeds to tell her that while he was using the bathroom a few minutes ago, he felt like somebody was watching him. He said he turned to look and there was a dark figure standing in Becky's bedroom doorway, leaning out looking at him. He said he could see what looked like stringy hair hanging down. Whatever this is, she's terrified that it took on the identity of her dad and that maybe her son has welcomed it into their home. She's looking for help, answers, anything. She needs advice. She's desperate for advice and suggestions on how to get this thing out of her house. She feels like she's tried everything. The only other weird thing that she's noticed is that all of a sudden she's being overran by spiders, but that just might be the time of the year, but it hasn't happened in years past. Can't wait to hear what y'all think about this one in the comments. As always, send me your scary stories.
On the afternoon of July 18th, 1997, a man was driving down a road surrounded on both sides by trees in a rural part of Wisconsin called Douglas County. There were no other cars on the road, and so this guy was driving pretty fast. And as he rounded this bend in the road, something out the passenger side window on the side of the road in the grass caught his eye. He couldn't tell what it was, but it was a pretty big object, and after he drove right past it, he just couldn't stop thinking about it. Like, whatever it was, it just seemed out of place. And so for whatever reason, this man felt compelled to actually stop and go see what it was. And so he slowed down and parked on the shoulder, he got out, and began walking along the road back in the direction of this object. And as he got closer, he began to see this object again in the shoulder of the road, and it was sort of obscured by grass and other things, so he couldn't see what it was. But as he got closer, he saw the object was pretty big, and it was all white. And as he took a few more steps and got within maybe 20 or 30 feet, he finally got a better look at this object, and he just froze. Because the object was a man wearing all white, a white suit, a white belt, white shoes, all white, and he was laying on the side of the road, just totally motionless. And for a second, the driver thought, maybe this guy is sleeping, but after taking only a few more steps and getting a totally unobstructed view at this guy, he saw there was a gaping hole in this man's chest. He was obviously dead. And so the driver turned around, ran back to his car, sped to the nearest house, and called 911. The next morning, a Douglas County detective named Stephen Long was sitting at his desk looking at the photos of the dead man in white. This murder case was less than 24 hours old, but already this was one of the weirder cases that this detective had ever been assigned to. The victim had pretty much immediately been identified because he was carrying on his person his wallet, and in his wallet was his driver's license, and so they knew who he was. But the man in white's identity actually made the whole case more confusing, not less. And Mark had no obvious ties to the area, so what was this rich guy doing 3 hours from home, dressed all in white, getting shot to death on the side of the road? Like, it didn't add up. The dead man was a 45-year-old millionaire named Mark Foster, and Mark lived 3 hours away in Minneapolis, Minnesota, and had no discernible ties to Douglas County, and so the detective was thinking, what is this rich guy doing here, dressed head to toe, all in white, getting murdered on the side of some local random back road? But things only got more confusing from there. After the medical examiner did Mark's autopsy, he told Detective Long that he had discovered a note inside of Mark's shoe. And the note just said, "Jack Frazier isn't here, but it's Jimmy Bailey?" Or a look-alike? I hope I'm okay. Now, nobody, including Detective Long, had any idea what this note meant. It was far too cryptic. But when they ran Jack Frazier and Jimmy Bailey's names through their database, the police discovered that both of those men, one, existed, and two, they lived in Minnesota, same as Mark Foster. And so naturally, Detective Long began to suspect that maybe those two men, were connected in some way to Mark Foster. Maybe they were involved in his murder, or maybe they were actually his killer or killers. He didn't know, but it was his best lead. So Detective Long decided he would just have to go to Minneapolis to try to find out more. A few hours later, Detective Long parked his car at the Minneapolis police station. He got out and walked inside the building. Waiting for him inside was the local detective who Mark had already spoken to. And so after meeting this detective, the two of them went into an interview room where Mark Foster's wife was waiting for them. And right away, Detective Long noticed that she was very pregnant and at least 15 or 20 years younger than Mark. But despite that, she seemed very composed. It would turn out she'd already been told about her husband's death, and she was basically resigned to the fact that she was here to try to answer questions to figure out what happened. And so the detective sat down and they began to interview her. And then when they brought up the note that was found in Mark's shoe, specifically when they said the two names that were on that note, Jack Frazier and Jimmy Bailey, when they said that, it triggered something in Mark Foster's wife. She immediately began to cry, and then in between sobs, she would tell the detectives that she knew who those two men were. She told them that she had previously had relationships with both of them before marrying Mark. And she said after she married Mark, Jack and Jimmy became very jealous. They didn't like the idea that she had chosen Mark over them. And so she had always felt like those two, Jack and Jimmy, sort of had it out for Mark as a result of this romantic rivalry. After the interview with Mark's wife ended, Detective Long began to think that, despite this case appearing on the surface to be very odd and confusing, that perhaps in reality, it was quite simple. Maybe Jimmy and Jack were so jealous of Mark that they killed Mark. I mean, based on what Mark's wife had just told them in the interview about them being romantic rivals of Mark, and also the fact that that note was in Mark's shoe and named those two men, it certainly seemed very possible. But over the next couple of days that Detective Long began digging into this theory, that theory fell apart. Because it would turn out Jack Frazier and Jimmy Bailey had absolutely airtight alibis. They simply couldn't have been the killers. Now, Detective Long was obviously frustrated. He felt like he really had it here. But he was not deterred. He decided his next move would be to try to better understand his victim. To this point, he had already interviewed a lot of Mark's friends and family, but something he had not done yet was simply go to Mark's house and have a look around. So Detective Long got a search warrant, and on July 29th, roughly a week after Mark was killed, Detective Long, along with another detective, pulled up in front of Mark Foster's large two-story home in the middle of a quiet suburban neighborhood. Now, from the outside, the home looked totally ordinary relative to its neighbors. But once they got inside the house, it was anything but. The detectives made their way up to the front door and knocked, and a few seconds later, Mark Foster's wife opened up the door and let them inside. And right away, Detective Long is looking around, and he's seeing all over the walls on the first floor of the house are these graphic pictures and paintings of naked people. And then in addition to that, on some of the coffee tables and various surfaces on the first floor, right when you walk in, are all these pornographic magazines and books everywhere. And Mark's wife didn't acknowledge any of it. She acted like it was completely normal to have all this stuff right in the front part of your house. And so the two detectives are looking at each other as, Mark's wife is leading them on this tour through the first floor. And at some point, Detective Long just said, hey, Mrs. Foster, why don't you have a seat on the couch and you just let us take a look around your house on our own? And so she said, okay. She sat down on the couch, and then the two detectives, they left the living room, went back to the front of the house, and made their way upstairs. And once they got upstairs, they found the master suite, and there was all this bondage gear inside. There were leather straps attached to the bedposts, there was whips and handcuffs, there was also additional pornographic material in there. But, considering what the detectives had seen downstairs, this sort of felt on par for this house. And so after searching the other bedrooms and other rooms on the second floor and finding more pornographic material basically everywhere, the detectives found their way back to the hallway in the second floor, and they noticed there was a rope hanging down from the ceiling, and it was attached to the pull door that led to the attic. And so the two detectives, they walked over, they pulled the rope down, it revealed this fold-out set of stairs that came down from the attic, and once those were in place, the two detectives began climbing up. And once they got up there, they discovered that this attic was not a storage space like many attics are in American homes. Instead, this attic was a fully functional room that sort of resembled like a satanic dungeon of sorts. All the walls were totally jet black, and there were all these burned out candles all over the place and tarot cards littering the floor. And on the back of the attic, basically all the way on the other side, there was what appeared to be an altar that sort of overlooked the entire room. And on the altar were more candles, and there was a voodoo doll. I mean, it's totally creepy, and the two detectives are looking at each other like, what's going on here? And so the detectives, they climbed all the way into the attic, and then slowly began walking across towards the altar. And when they got close enough to actually see the altar up close, they just froze. Because sitting on the altar, in addition to the candles and the voodoo doll, were 2 business cards. Their own business cards.
Oh yeah, one more thing. If y'all see me on Love Island, mind your fucking business, bitch. I'm trying to find love, bitch. Y'all had y'all motherfucking chance.
Imagine finding out that your aunt is a demon from hell. I am back with another spooky story. We're gonna call the person who submitted the story Perry. Perry said that she submitted this story because she really wants to spread awareness. Okay, so Perry is the type of person who receives visions. She says that most people receive visions from heaven only or hell only, but she gets them from both. She says she had visions of Jesus telling her what to do, and even having conversations with him, and also with demons and the devil. Perry says for some reason when it's with Jesus, she's never seen his face clearly, but she says that the way Revelations describes him is exactly how he is. But she sees demons clearly and their messages are always misleading. So one day, as she's randomly preparing for bed, her aunt walks into her room randomly and looks deep into her soul and says, "Life only gets worse." Perry didn't think much about it. She just prayed and went to sleep. Well, that very night, Perry had a vision. She says her visions never really involve her family members, but this time it did. In her dream, she was in her mom's room, which, by the way, she was sleeping in because her room had a problem. The vision was basically her entering her mom's room right after her aunt said that life only gets worse. She saw several heads and creepy things that kept repeating, "Life only gets worse." Which made sense because as she was walking into the room before she fell asleep, she heard whispering, but she just couldn't make out what it was saying. But in her vision, she can hear them very clearly, repeating what her aunt had told her. So she immediately woke up and started looking around. And out of the blue, her aunt was in the window just staring right at her. She said, "I never screamed like that my whole life." Everyone woke up, came to her, and asked her, like, what is going on? But she was so traumatized she couldn't even talk about it. She definitely didn't want to stay in that house anymore. So her mom suggested maybe she should just go spend the night at her boyfriend's place. She loved that idea. She couldn't agree more. When she arrived at her boyfriend's place, she felt comforted and at ease, and she immediately fell asleep. She woke up in the morning feeling refreshed and more at ease. Stay with me now. After freshening up, she went to go eat breakfast with her boyfriend. At the table, he asked her why she didn't want to stay at her family's house anymore. After explaining to him the entire story, he honestly wasn't shocked. He said one time his friend went to learn about demons from a demon with him. So they went to go learn about demons from a demon himself. And he said that the demon, for some reason, the boyfriend is telling her that this demon wanted to see a picture of him and his entire family. So he showed the demon a picture. So Perry happened to be in that picture that the boyfriend showed the demon. And immediately he showed interest in Perry. The demon requested to see Perry's entire family. So her boyfriend, who has many pictures of Perry's family, just showed it to the demon. The demon then asked her boyfriend if Perry's entire family were demons too. To which the boyfriend replies to the demon saying, "Nah, fam. My girlfriend and her whole entire family are in fact religious. Like religiously strong, and they're Catholics." Then the demon pointed at her aunt and said that whenever demons gather up, she's always there. And after that day at the table, he never brought up that story again. So Perry was so in shock after her boyfriend told her that story and felt the need to learn more about it. So she went to her aunt's old house, and the minute she got there, she just felt chills like just going down her spine. She said she saw several cult pictures and demonic symbols around the entire house. And yes, it was her first time in that house. As Perry and her boyfriend are exploring her aunt's house that they just broke into, out of nowhere, as if she is everywhere, the aunt appears and kicks them out. And mind you, before she appeared to kick them out, they looked all over the house. There was no one home. As they were there, they didn't hear the front door open, nothing. So where did this lady come from? She and her boyfriend leaves and heads to her house. And to her surprise, when she gets to her mother's house, who is standing right there at the front door. It is no other than her aunt. Perry was like, is she seriously everywhere I go? Her boyfriend was genuinely surprised. She told her parents to call a priest, however, her parents didn't think that was necessary. What they discovered about the aunt when the priest got there was truly horrifying. Now, I know you guys hate part 2s, I know. And sometimes I leave y'all hanging, but not this time. I'm going to drop the part 2. Make sure you like, leave a comment. Oh, and follow me on Instagram. Thank you. All right, y'all. I'll see you guys in part 2.
Something really scary happened to me. I don't want this to happen to anybody else. I opened my Snapchat for the first time in a long time, and I saw that I had a new friend named Al. I don't know an Al. I haven't added an Al. I messaged Al and I said, who is this? And he said, hey, it's my Al. How are you doing? Off the bat, he has poor.
Imagine going to a wedding full of people only to realize that these right here are not humans like us, and you're basically trapped in a room full of jinns. That's exactly what happened to this woman right here. Her name is Nora, aka the Beyonce of Kuwait. Yes, this story takes place in Kuwait, by the way. Nora was basically a famous singer there, okay? Her and her band used to sing traditional stuff in weddings. Another way to say it, she was like a celebrity there, okay? You call her for your marriage, she comes, she sings, and then she leaves with money. You're probably like, okay man, this sounds like an amazing job. I mean, imagine going to a marriage, having fun, people recognize you, people are a fan of you, and you get money for singing a couple of songs. No, it was amazing until a terrifying thing happened to her and made her quit her job and be traumatized forever. Now, before I tell you what happened, you know what to do. Save this video and come back to it at night so it's more enjoyable like that. But one day, Nora got a call. She was like, man, should I pick up? I don't really work today. You know what? Let's pick up the phone. Hello? Oh, the person calling her was a woman, okay? And she basically said, hello? Is this Nora? The famous Nora? Oh, Nora basically responded, oh yeah, thank you so much, that's me, the famous Nora, yeah. The woman on the phone basically said, oh my god, thank you so much for responding. Everybody loves you here. Can you please show up to my daughter's wedding tonight? This is when Nora responded, oh, I'm sorry, like, I don't work today, I'm really sorry. The woman on the phone started begging her, okay? She was like, please, this is my only daughter, can you please show up tonight? She loves you so much. When Nora heard this from the woman calling, she was like, oh my god, these people are annoying. Okay, you know what? I'll make an exception for you. I want to see your daughter happy tonight. So, Nora ended up accepting, okay? The woman gave her the address and she told her to come, her and her band, at 10 p.m. Well, Nora and her band finally made it to the house at 10 p.m., okay? And before even entering, Nora was like, okay, I'm sorry, I did bring you here, but come on. I know that nobody works today, but we gotta do it for the love of the game. Her band basically responded, oh, come on, don't sweat it, Nora. You know, we want to make people happy, right? It's only a marriage after all, right? Nora and her band finally made it inside the house, and the first thing they noticed is that the house from the outside looks normal, right? But from the inside, it's something different. The house was really bigger than they expected, okay? And the decor was really noticeable, okay? Somebody did their job on the decor. You know, Nora and her band were amazed. They were like, wow, this is by far the biggest house we'll perform in. And while the band was examining the inside, the woman came. Remember the woman who told her to come here in the first place? The woman who begged her to show up for her daughter, blah, blah, blah. Yes, she came. She was like, oh my god, Nora, I'm a big fan. And you know, she wanted to shake her hand. When Nora saw her, she was like, oh, what's up? How are you? Yeah, I'm good. Thank you. This is your daughter's wedding? Yeah, I'll tell you, it's about to be amazing. She shook her hand. Nora noticed something, okay? The woman's hand were dry, okay? And it was not moving. You know how humans' hand move? Her hand was not moving, and she could feel her bones. When she felt that, she started having a little doubt, okay? She was like, okay, I've never seen something like this before. I mean, okay, you know what? I'm not judging. And she was not trying to scare her band either. So she was like, okay, to the woman she was speaking, she was like, where do we perform? The woman responded, you see, we love you so much. We do appreciate you so much for coming. So we prepared everything. You do perform in that corner over there. You see it? Yeah. Oh, Nora responded, oh, okay, that's really sweet. You know, thank you so much. Yeah, let's go over there. Yeah, okay. See you there. In this corner right here, Nora and her band started performing, okay? And what a performance. Everybody was loving it. Everybody was shaking their heads, vibing like, Nora and her band, while singing, they were feeling the energy. They were like, yeah, okay, that's what we're talking about. That's the type of vibes we like. You know, See, while singing, Nora noticed a detail that she could have noticed from the beginning, but she didn't for a reason. It's almost like it was hidden from her. Why is everybody dressed in old clothes? Well, nobody was dressed in the typical wedding clothes of today, if you know what I mean. Everybody was dressed like the 17th century. So Nora was like, what the hell is going on? Nora told herself, okay, that's weird. You know, she kept singing. She was still giving some side eyes, but you know, she kept singing. I don't know the song she was singing. I wasn't there with her, but she was singing something like, I'm a lot ashamed. What? I'm a lot ashamed, huh? Let me sing. See, meanwhile Nora was singing, one of her band members started tapping her shoulder. And you know, she's trying to communicate but sing at the same time. She was like, the band member who was trying to get her attention was the one playing guitar, okay? And he was like, look at their legs. Look at their legs. Nora was like, what do you mean their legs? Shape of head. This is what Nora saw. Goat legs, and she understood that from the beginning she was not with humans. Yup, she's singing with jinns. If you don't know what a jinn means, scary creature, I talked about him in my first post, go check it out. But when Nora saw this, she was in shock, but she kinda knew that something was wrong from the beginning, you know? Remember when she shook hands with the woman who invited her? Yup, in that moment she felt that something was not right. So Nora and her band kept performing, okay? They were not trying to get suspicious, but you know, their voices kept getting low, and they started thinking about this. Those are jinns, but they're in human forms. And you know, while thinking about this, they noticed something. It's midnight. One of her band members was like, hey yo, Nora, we should go. The vibe switched up, it's not the same anymore. These things right here are not even dancing, they're jumping and making weird noise. It's scaring me. You know, it's midnight, we should go. He said all that keeping his voice low. It doesn't matter because he's playing an instrument so nobody's hearing him. Problem is, in Nora's case, she can't talk, she's literally singing. And this is where she had to step up, talk to some of the jinns and told them that we should get a break. Oh, the woman who invited her in the first place, the jinn, came and she was like, Nora, I heard that you want a break, is that true? Nora basically responded, yeah, it's hot out here. And you know, we're kind of tired, so can we go in that room, please? Rest for about 5 to 10 minutes and then we'll come back. Jin basically responded, yeah, you can go. Ooh. Now the band went to a small room, closed the door, and they're finally isolated from the rest. This is where Nora was like, nobody is getting out, I don't care. You see these creatures, they're turning crazy right now. It's past midnight, so they're turning crazy. Nobody's getting out unless you wanna. Band members basically responded, bro, do you want us to be stuck here forever or what? We should get out. Nora basically responded, look, the woman invited me at 10 p.m., right? I don't think that's a coincidence. She invited me because she can only show up in this form at night. Look, what I'm trying to say is we pretend to be playing and singing until the sunrise. Once the sun rises, boom, we get out. We don't look back. Now, the band came back to the main room and they are forced to sing and play instruments. But things kept getting worse. Because some of the jinns not only started making weird noises and jumping, they started tearing their hair with a part of their scalp and throwing it down on the floor. Imagine the band playing, seeing, being forced to see all this stuff happening in front of them, but they can't do anything about it. Now, they kept playing for about 5 hours straight, and some of the band members started feeling sick and they started throwing up, you know, after all they saw. You know, as soon as the clock hit 4 a.m., meaning sunrise, every jinn stopped. They literally stopped moving. After that, they stopped moving, the lights started turning off, and the place started falling apart. This is where Nora was like, okay, this is our sign to go. After a long run in the hallways, they made it. They got out from the house. And this was the house. If you didn't notice anything yet, hold on. This was supposed to be the house they were in. This is what they saw at 10 p.m. This is where they left at 4 a.m. You see the difference? They left and they were all this time in an abandoned house. What happened is that the jinns basically gave them the illusion that they were in this house right here. So the bands kept running in the streets just to make sure that there is nobody after him. And you know, after running for a while, they saw somebody. That somebody basically asked them, why the hell are y'all running? Is this a marathon? Or like, I don't... Nora and the band were like, whoa, don't talk to us. We know that you're a jinn. Stop talking to us. So that somebody basically responded and he was confused. He was like, what? What the hell are you all talking about? Nora and the band members realized that he's normal, he's a normal human being, and they were like, oh, okay, he's on our side, don't worry. You know, they started explaining to him what happened to them in this house. After hearing their story, he said something crazy. He said that this house right here has been abandoned before even he was born.
I'm not certain about a lot in life, but one thing I am certain of is how genuinely disturbing this story is, and how you 100% will not sleep tonight because of it. This is a young girl who went missing in Mexico sometime in the 90s, and she was featured on a really popular broadcast called Community Service on Channel 5. This broadcast featured local missing person cases, but once Selena's case popped up, weird things started to happen, causing viewers to panic. What happened to Selena and everything that followed is extremely disturbing, so Let's talk about it. So Channel 5 is a Mexican TV station that has been around since the 50s. The channel is aimed at children, with segments airing during commercial breaks on Cartoon Network and Nickelodeon. And while some might not think anything of it, it's actually pretty disturbing when you find out what exactly they're airing for kids to see. So each night, Channel 5 would often air a broadcast called Community Service, which features real local missing person cases. Every time it came on, it would list a ton of missing people, and usually a lot of information and photos would be attached to each case. The goal was to air this in hopes of finding these missing people and bring them home. This is a great way to spread the word on missing people, but some thought it was a little dark to do this on kids channels, because after all, they are just kids, and these segments were known to be kind of sinister and bleak. But this was supposedly done on purpose to show young kids how scary the world can actually be, and in a way it was meant to teach them to be safe. This all had good intentions, but in 2001, Channel 5 featured a missing persons case that would unintentionally cause mass panic, even to this day. In 2001, Community Service featured the missing persons case of 18-year-old Selena Delgado Lopez, who disappeared on April 22nd. The year she disappeared has never been proven, although it's suggested that she disappeared sometime in the late 90s. What made this case stand out to viewers was this uncanny, poorly lit photo of Selena, and the fact that there was hardly any information about her disappearance besides her name, age, and where she went missing, which was in Mexico City. This was odd because everyone else that was featured on this broadcast had a lot of information and a ton of photos, but Selena's case didn't have any of that. Channel 5 aired Selena's photo and case for years, but it wasn't long until viewers started noticing something strange. Every time Selena's case and photo came on the TV, viewers started to get really uncomfortable and afraid, citing the nature of her photo as incredibly bizarre. Viewers noted how oddly terrified her photo made them feel, as it was super uncanny. Adding to the mystery surrounding this whole phenomenon is the fact that whenever Selena's photo would be featured, the TV channel would freeze and glitch out for a few minutes before the broadcast would abruptly cut to static. Because of the mass panic and strange coincidences like the TV glitching whenever her photo came on the screen, scary urban legends started to spread surrounding Selena and what really happened to her. Some said that Selena was met with a horrible fate and that her spirit haunted Channel 5 whenever her picture showed up on the screen. Others said that her photo was simply cursed. Some even went so far as to say that Selena was not a real missing person and that her uncanny photo was actually created using AI. And this theory was kind of backed up when people started looking into Selena's case and found no public record of her disappearance. It was around the time of Selena's disappearance and feature on Channel 5 that this photo started going around. It's obviously incredibly disturbing, and at the time, no one knew where it came from. Some pointed out the similarities between Selena's face and this one when lined up over each other, and videos about the glitches viewers would experience began circulating, just like this one.
XHGC Canal 5, al servicio de la comunidad. Pedimos ayuda para localizar a Selena Delgado López, de 18 años, se extravió el 22 de abril en la delegación Álvaro Obregón. Selena Delgado López, se ignora su paradero desde el 28 de mayo del año 2000. Selena Delgado López, de 18 años, se extravió el 22 de abril en la delegación Álvaro Obregón.
Although creepy, this photo is actually just a police sketch of Derek Todd Lee, aka the Baton Rouge Slayer. Derek was a serial killer who between 1998 and 2003 terrorized Baton Rouge and the surrounding areas. He killed at least 7 women, and before he was caught, authorities released this composite sketch of him. He was officially arrested and charged for these crimes in 2004, but somehow his composite sketch became associated with Selena's photo, thus fueling these really scary urban legends and stories about her death and disappearance. Like I said earlier, Channel 5 continued to air Selena's case on Community Service for years after the fact, because no one was able to confirm if she was actually a real missing person. And every time they did, viewers would still feel incredibly afraid and uncomfortable, and their TVs would all glitch. And as the years passed, this disturbing experience would remain a mystery, as would Selena's disappearance. Then in 2010, Channel 5 would begin to post some really disturbing photos and videos on Twitter. This is a video they posted. It's so creepy, and although it wasn't created by them, just reposted, no one knows why they randomly started doing this. Their Twitter account would be totally normal during the day, but every night, usually around 3 a.m., they began posting these disturbing videos, and by morning, they would all be deleted. One of the videos they posted had a caption mentioning Selena, and it is really creepy. When employees at Channel 5 were questioned about this, no one knew anything about it. That, in and of itself, is genuinely so scary to me, but Then in 2020, Selena's disappearance and the urban legends surrounding it once again resurfaced, and this became known as the Facebook incident. In 2020, a Facebook page of a woman with the exact same name as Selena popped up. It started gaining some traction because users discovered that they had already been added as her friend, even though no one knew her, and none of them sent her a friend request. To their horror, they also discovered that there was no option to unfriend her either. This led people to believe that her profile was haunted and in some way connected to what happened to Selena. This profile was shared thousands of times, and while it is a little creepy, there was actually a really logical explanation for the entire thing. This profile turned out to just be someone with the same name as Selena, and she had really just changed her privacy settings. She removed the add friend option from her profile, and because her page was blowing up and she had no clue why, she privated her account, which is still there to this day. Although a lot about this story is still a mystery, there are a few theories that could explain what's going on with Channel 5 and Selena's disappearance. Theory number one is that Selena is a real missing person, and her lack of information is simply due to the lack of resources back then. There are a lot of missing people in Mexico, especially during that time, so maybe her disappearance was just never followed up on. If that's the case and she is a real missing person, it's extremely sad, and her family deserves answers as to what really happened to her. Cable TV back then wasn't great quality, so that could explain the nature of her photo as well as the glitching and freezing on the channel. It could have really happened, maybe just due to technical issues. Theory number two was that Selena is not a real missing person, and it's been suggested that Channel 5 created her to fuel a fake urban legend in order to scare young viewers into being safe. It could be that this is all a hoax to shed some light on how unsafe the world actually is, and it could very well just be a publicity stunt to get people to watch the broadcast. Either that, or Selena's case and photo was created by someone else with the sole intent of scaring people, and Channel 5 didn't do its due diligence to make sure it was real before airing. That's weird to me though, because they continued airing her story for years after the fact. Some people lean more towards this being a hoax by Channel 5 simply because of the Twitter post in 2010 referencing Selena. Whether the story is true or not, it still gives me full body chills. It's now been 24 years since the story surfaced, but it remains a disturbing mystery to this day.
Do not listen to this scary story at nighttime or right before you're going to bed. Because I love you so much, I'm giving you this warning because what the fuck? So typically I listen to a lot of Spanish scary stories because I like translating them for you guys. I typically listen to these when my husband's asleep next to me and I'm just like scrolling story through story, right? I will say when I listened to this story, I got full body chills, right? But I was like, okay, cool, I'm saving this. This is gonna be a good ass story, and I just kept going. A lot of the times you guys ask me in my comments like, how do you sleep after reading all these stories? And I'm gonna be honest, I sleep perfectly well. Like typically I'm not scared, and I wasn't scared last night, which is why it's so weird that I had a dream about this fucking story. I guess this story really impacted me more than I thought. So I'm gonna translate the story for you guys, and then I'm gonna tell you the dream that I had at the very end. So there was this girl, she was around 15 or 16 years old, and she lived with her mom. Unfortunately, her mom lost her job and they had no money, so they ended up losing their house as well. So one of the mom's family members tells them that they have a house that they can live in because they didn't want them to be homeless, but unfortunately this house was like away from civilization. This house was in the middle of nowhere, surrounded by like hills and mountains, but since the mom and daughter had nowhere else to go, they accepted the offer and decided to go live in this house. They end up going to the house, and when they get there, they notice the strangest thing ever. Right in front of the door is this big ass tree. Like the tree was so big that when they would try to open the front door, it would be hitting that tree. So the mom thought it was really strange that the tree would be like right in front of the front door. So the people who actually gave him a ride to that house noticed the tree as well, and they told the mom that if she wanted to, they can also help her remove that tree so that it doesn't stop the front door from opening. And she agreed, so they decided to do it then and there. When they removed that tree, on the roots of like where the tree was growing, they see like a skeleton of a baby. The mom says that it looked like maybe someone had buried the baby a very long time ago because the bones of the baby's skeleton were just being eaten by the roots of that tree. She said that they didn't end up telling anybody about it. She just, had the tree removed, they saw that, and they just like moved on with their lives. Time passes, and in this house, it's a 2-bedroom home. It's a little small, but it does have a hallway that leads to both both of the rooms. Both the mom and the daughter start hearing noises in the hallway, and they realize that it sounds like a little baby. She even said it doesn't sound like an animal, it didn't sound like a kid. There was no like steps walking. It sounded like a baby playing in the hallway. So the mom almost felt guilty because she felt like something had happened there. I mean, they found the baby bones, and she just felt really bad that maybe the baby ghost was there. So she started leaving out baby toys in the hallway. I already have chills. So after leaving the toys in the hallway, the mom says that they would then start hearing this baby playing with those specific toys that were left out for it. She mentions that nothing scary would happen, but she did feel that over time the baby's energy was growing and growing. So one day the mom and daughter get into a really big fight, and I mean they were screaming at each other, like they were going at it, and the daughter ends up going to her room and like slamming the door, and mom also goes to her room and slams the door. So when the mom goes into her room, slams the door, and sits alone, she realizes that maybe she was a little tough on her daughter. Mom felt so bad and so guilty that she's like, I'm gonna go to her room and I'm gonna, apologize and let's try to talk through it. So the mom goes and she knocks on her daughter's door, and of course the daughter didn't answer because she was pissed. After the daughter not answering her door, the mom still decided to open the door, and she starts off with, look, I really need to talk to you. And then she stays silent. The daughter was laying on her bed and she was like, what? That's when the mom was like, get up and come with me. And the daughter's like, what? And the mom's like, get up and come with me. The daughter's like, I thought you wanted to talk to me. And she goes, shut up, get up and come with me. So once the daughter realizes that something is going on because the mom was really seriously telling her to get up, she gets up. Her mom grabs her by the hand, they leave her bedroom, close her bedroom door, and the mom takes her back to her own room. So the mom explains that when she opened her daughter's door and told her, I need to talk to you, she looks at her daughter that's laying on the bed, and she sees a baby on top of her daughter's chest. She says that the baby was not a normal baby. When the mom was telling her daughter, get up and come with me, that baby would hold on to her daughter even tighter, looking at the mom and smiling at her. Oh my god, look at my heart. I think the reason why I imagine these stories in my head, so I'm seeing this shit like a movie in my brain. Can you imagine? She walked in there feeling so guilty that she got into a fight with her mom, tries to talk to her, and fucking sees a baby on her daughter's chest as she's telling her, get up and let's go. Baby hugs her daughter tighter while looking at her smiling. They left that house that night and never looked back, didn't go back to investigate, didn't want to know what the fuck happened there, because at that point it wasn't just a little innocent baby ghost, because she saw a baby, but it was not a normal looking baby. Now for my dream. So in my dream, I'm laying in bed. Leave it to me to take naps in my dream too. And next to me is one of my exes, because my dream wasn't scary enough. And in my dream, I'm waking up because I'm feeling something crawling up my body. And when this thing finally gets to the very top, I see a scary looking baby with fucking crazy teeth. And you know how like in your dreams you can't fight, it's like slow motion? Well, as soon as I saw that face, my hand was like trying to push it away. I mean, the baby was like biting my hand, and I was like, what do I do? Because I'm moving so slowly. I was pushing that baby towards my ex, who was still asleep, because what the fuck, take him, not me. But this baby wouldn't give up. It kept trying to come at me, and to the point where I'm slowly moving my fucking head away. It doesn't sound as scary, but like it was fucked up in my dream. Okay, so the baby's still crawling, and once it's like face to face to me, I guess I got so spooked that I woke myself up. All it had to do was go to my ex, like, why the fuck would you want me? But no, I got really scared. I woke up and I was like, what the fuck was I dreaming about right now? Anyway, I hope you don't have dreams about this story. Isn't it crazy that sometimes your own blood wants to see you do bad, and then on the same note, complete strangers are your biggest supporters? Thankfully, my family supports me, and so do you guys, but unfortunately for this guy in the story, that was not the case. So this guy says that a few years ago, he started having really weird dreams. In his dreams, he's sitting at the dinner table with his entire family, and then out of nowhere, they would all disappear. He would walk outside the house and there would be nobody out in the streets. He would end up walking through his whole town, and only from a distance, he would see somebody walking in the street, so he would decide to follow them. He would notice that the guy would be walking to this market, and as soon as he was about to enter this market, he would wake up. And the weird thing was that he would continue to have these dreams, and in every dream, he would get closer and closer to this market before waking up. He experienced these dreams for over 3 years. Within this time, his life also changed drastically. He had isolated himself from his friends, from his family. He also had trouble sleeping, and when he did fall asleep, he would have the same dream, and always from afar would see that one person go into the market, and then by the time he tried to get in there again, he would wake up. He was never able to see this person face to face, only from behind. So he's having the same dream one time, and he sees that person from behind again, and he finally decides to scream at that person, "Hey, who are you?" But that person never turned around or responded. So moving forward, every time he would have the dreams with the thing or person, he would scream at them, "Who are you? What are you doing? What are we doing here? Who are you?" Eventually, he did end up getting a response, and that thing or person said, "You're not ready to know who I am just yet." After that interaction in his dream, he says that 3 months after that, he became very depressed and even thought about taking his own life. So again, he's dreaming, and he's dreaming of that thing from far away, and he asks the thing again, "Who are you? Please let me know." And this time, the thing, without turning around, says, "If you really want to know who I am, touch my shoulder." He indeed touched this person's shoulder, and in that moment he woke up from his dream. But the craziest shit was that after touching this person's shoulder, he never had that dream again. So some time passes, and they end up having like a family dinner where some people brought some family friends over. He had never met this person at that dinner party, but he knew about them. He knew that this person had like a don, they say, a gift where they can sense the paranormal or things like that. As soon as he walks into this party, this person turns and looks at him and says, "Hey, you have something attached on your back." He claims that in that moment where that person pointed out that they had something attached to them, it almost felt like he had an outer body experience and he was out. Like maybe he fainted, but he was no longer like there. And when he did wake up, he was surrounded by 3 people in a bedroom that he had never been in. When he finally looked around the entire room, he did notice that his mom and his mom's friend were also in there. So the people who were surrounding him told him that somebody had done some brujeria on him, and that the intention of this brujeria was for him to eventually end his own life. He said it took him 2 weeks worth of sessions with these santeros to be able to take that brujeria away from him and get him protected. And at the end of those sessions, the santeros told him that he was gonna have a dream of the person who did that brujeria on him. I'd be going to bed with popcorn in my hands, bitch, and let me find out who the fuck did this. All jokes aside, that is fucking scary. I know you guys want to hear the tea on who that was. That same night, he had a dream that he was inside of the house of his own tia, his aunt. In the dream, it was almost as if his tia was not seeing him. He was like a ghost in her house. And when he was there, he saw the entity that he's been seeing in those repeated dreams walking up to his tia, and the tia asking him why the hell he didn't take her nephew with him. She was telling him, "Why didn't you get the job done? Why didn't you take my nephew with you?" And that was when the entity responded to the tia saying, "We can't take him anymore. He's protected. It would have to be somebody else." And in that very moment, his aunt got a picture of his little sister and put it on the table for that entity to take with him. He wakes up from this dream feeling disgusted, feeling horrible, but he cannot stop thinking about his sister. So he runs to his mom. He tells her who did the brujeria and tells her that he saw a picture of his little sister who was next. Immediately, they take the little sister to the santeros to get protected as well. The crazy shit was that not even like a week had passed, and their tia had like an accident where it left her face paralyzed. He says that the aunt never wanted to tell his mom or anybody in the family what happened so that she could get that paralyzed face, place. And as a matter of fact, she stopped talking to the family for a good while. When they went back to the person who helped them with this brujeria, the person told them that what happened to the aunt was some sort of karma for what she attempted to do, a consequence of trying to do evil to these people. Ever since that day, he hardly sees that aunt at any family gatherings or things like that, and he says that him and his sister are fine, like nothing ever happened to them after. However, he does says that there was one time where he had a dream about his aunt, and in that dream, when he finally touched her to like turn her around because it was her back facing him, her face had completely changed on one side, and it almost looked like that entity's face, just like human but like weird and discolored and like deformation all on the other side. But yeah, that shit is crazy, and the fact that it's like his own family, his own blood, is insane to me. But what do you guys think?